Hi guys, I wanted to hop on today and talk to you about seasonal affective disorder and things that you can do on your own to make a big improvement in your mood. Now, we've just gotten into September, we're finishing up the summer, sad face. And this is the time of year when people will start noticing seasonal affective symptoms start to creep in. So it can happen anywhere from September, October, November. That's when people really start noticing the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder kick in. And whether you're diagnosed or not, you don't have to be diagnosed for this to be a real thing for you. It might be like if you already have depression, it could be exacerbated depression, or it could just be feelings of depression coming out of nowhere. A really big one is feelings of low energy and sluggishness. So if you all of a sudden start to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't get up in the morning, I feel like I've been hit by a train, that's a major sign that you're being affected by the changing of the seasons. Also changes in your weight. If you start putting on weight this time of year and you can't figure out why, that can have something to do with it. And difficulty concentrating. So those are kind of the main symptoms that we see with SAD. And there is a reason for that. So a lot of times when people think of seasonal affective disorder, we think, oh, it has everything to do with the environment. Like it's cold outside, it's dreary, you don't want to be active, it's dark all the time. Like it's just kind of this glum atmosphere and it really drags us down. And that's definitely part of it. Like atmosphere can really affect how we feel, but there's actually biochemical reasons for it happening within our bodies. So as a species, as humans, we are designed to work with nature. So in a perfect world, we would be rising with the sun and going to bed, after sunset. The sun is there to wake us up. And in addition to our eyes, we actually have photoreceptors in our skin that let us know when the sun is up, which is pretty cool. But because of our modern world, because of our schedules, most of us can't just say like, well, I think I'm going to wake up with the sun and I'm not going to use my alarm clock anymore. So, the modern world has made it so we can't always wake up with the sun. And so when we're waking up and it's dark outside, that's really confusing to our bodies. And what that does is when we have the disrupted circadian pattern in the morning, and then also when we're staying up really late at night, on our cell phones, on our computers, on our televisions, and we're getting all of that blue light from our phones, that's also disrupting our circadian rhythms. So you have the disruption in the morning and at night. So what this does is it messes up our circadian rhythms, and it also messes up our HPA axis. So that is hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So when you mess up those circadian rhythms, you mess up that. And there's a reason why seasonal affective disorder looks a whole lot like adrenal fatigue. And I actually think they're kind of one and of the same thing. So you see a lot of these exact same symptoms with adrenal fatigue and with depression and with seasonal affective disorder. They all just kind of go hand in hand. So what can you do about it? That's why you're here for this video. The number one thing I recommend with seasonal affective disorder is light therapy. A lot of you are probably familiar with light boxes. I have a big one. It's super ugly. It's sitting on my desk right over here. That is a great tool, and they recommend sitting in front of it for about 20 minutes a day. You should be getting something with a measurement of 10,000 lux for the brightness. That's great. What I recommend even more is a Wakeup Light, because remember, we want to get those circadian rhythms reset. So a Wakeup Light, and I have one right here. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a minute. And there's a glare it's actually a glare from my Happy Light right over there on my desk. So what this little puppy does is you set it with when you want to wake up, and it starts gradually turning on the light. So I get up at 6 every morning. So what this does is it gradually starts coming on at 5:45, and then by the time 6 o'clock rolls around, the alarm function doesn't even have to go on. This thing already wakes me up, and it wakes me up naturally in a way that my body appreciates. And so I don't have that fuzzy, foggy, yucky hit by a truck feeling when I wake up in the morning, when I use my Wake Up Light. So there's lots of different Wake Up Lights on the market. I recommend getting one with a therapeutic brightness. So this Wake Up Light that I have here, it's called Nature Bright. It is by, what's the brand here? The brand is Sun Bliss, and I'll link all this up after the video. So here's the box it came in. The brand is Sun Bliss. This has a 10,000 lux brightness, and that's the therapeutic brightness for seasonal affective disorder. So after this turns on and it wakes me up, I'll actually kind of, I don't want to say I stare directly into it, but I'll sit in my bed, I'll read for a few minutes, and I make sure that that light is hitting my eyes, and that really helps with therapeutic effects. So in addition to considering a wake up light or a light box, something that you want to do is make sure the blue light on your computer screen and your phone is mitigated. So if at all possible, turning off all electronics at least an hour before bedtime, ideally 2, but I know with the kind of world that we live in, is ideal. To mitigate that, there are apps that you can install. The one that I recommend is called Flux, fl.ux. I'll also link this up after the video. So fl.ux, what that does is it gradually turns down the blue light in your computer and it increases the warm tones. So the light that's hitting your eyes isn't going to screw up your circadian rhythms as badly. If you have an Android, Flux is available on Android. If you have an iPhone like I do, they actually have a built-in tool for this. So you just go to Settings, Display and Brightness, and then you go to Night Shift. It's called Night Shift. It's this little built-in thing, and I have mine set from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. So from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., the light coming from my iPhone isn't going to screw up my eyes as badly. So installing those apps and using them on your phone and your computer. I'm just going to read a comment here from somebody. Hold on. Okay, cool. Thank you, Christine. I'm excited you're going to catch the replay. Okay, so we've talked about wake up lights, light boxes. We've talked about adjusting our phones and our computers. The other thing that I highly, highly recommend you do, especially in the winter, is supplement with vitamin D. Especially if you live up north in Michigan like I do. I grew up in the South. I moved to Chicago, then I moved to Michigan, and I will say that since I've been a northern girl, it's way worse up here. I don't know why I live here, to be honest with you. So anyway, supplementing with vitamin D, but when you supplement with vitamin D, you want to make sure you're picking a good vitamin D supplement. Now, the way that our bodies are designed to make vitamin D is that we absorb sunlight through our skin, and that's how our body naturally produces vitamin D. That is the most ideal way to produce vitamin D. A lot of us have a really hard time getting that in the winter. So if at all possible, if you can go outside in the winter around noon and just look up at the sun, it's not going to be everything that you need to feel better, but it will help you feel better. If you can just go look at the sun on those non-cloudy days, that's really going to help. But in terms of supplementing with vitamin D, I recommend supplementing with a liquid vitamin D, because if you take it in tablet form, it's not quite as absorbable, because our bodies are designed to produce vitamin D through our skin and the sun exposure. We're not as prone to be able to absorb it through the digestive process. So I actually like to bypass digestion with a liquid vitamin D. There's a couple that I recommend. The one that I have on hand is from Biotics. It's called Biodemulsion Forte. And what this is it's an emulsified vitamin D. It's emulsified in sesame oil into these little microparticles. So it's super absorbable. And in terms of dosage for people, dosage can be all over the place, but in terms of a general safe recommendation that I feel comfortable giving to the public, 2,000 to 5,000 IUs per day. And IU stands for international units, so you want to look for that on the label. And this one drop is equal to 2,000 IU. And personally for myself, I usually dose about 4,000. So what I do is I just take it and I put 2 drops right here on my finger. And then what I do is I actually rub this in to my gums and under my tongue. And the reason that I do that is because our capillaries are really, really close to the surface in our gums, and it's very easy for things to absorb directly into our mouth. So if you rub something on your gums or you put it under your tongue, it's going to absorb right into your bloodstream. So I'm just going to be super awkward and do that right now. So I just rub it on my gums, and that's how I get my vitamin D. And it doesn't taste bad. So there's this one. The one that I recommend even more than this is from Thorne Research. They have a liquid vitamin D3 and K2. That's the best form that you can get is D3. And then if you compare it with K2, that's really important because those are synergistic with each other and it helps increase the absorption. So again, I will link up everything in the comments after this video is done. But if you implement those three things, the light therapy, getting your electronics so they're not blasting light at you, and some vitamin D supplementation, that should really, really help you. There are other things that you can do, but those are my top three for sure. So I hope you have found this video helpful, and I hope that SAD doesn't bite you in the butt this year because it sucks. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks, guys.